right, so hopefully you've completed your mood charts, you've identified in your body where the anxiety seems to kind of show up, you've been open to some of the things that your body might be trying to communicate to you, and possibly written those down and hopefully shared in the forum. So now the next thing we want you to do is start thinking in terms of how to diminish the reaction of anxiety to the triggers. Okay, so there's a really cool way to do this, and it's actually in psychological literature called systematic desensitization. And so the first part of that, we're going to do everything in your head, okay? We're going to just play mental games here. And we know that since there are significant parts of your brain that make no distinction between reality out here and what's going on in here, we're going to use that visualization technique to actually see if we can deal with some triggers, right? So say you had anxiety about, let's see, anxiety about spiders, okay, any insects or spiders, okay. Now we're not talking about a full-blown phobia, however this works for phobias too, but just general anxiety. You know, it's like, wah, I hate this, if there's a thought of spiders or anything in my house, right? So what we do with these mental games, the systematic desensitization, first in your head, is that we want you to write down a list of 10 different scenarios where you would be confronted with spiders and how, you know, just scenarios where you're confronted with spiders or insects that are kind of yucky that you don't really like. So what you do is you rank those on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being the really lowest stress, and then it is graded upward until 10 is like the most stressful encounter with a spider or an insect that you would ever have and that you could ever hope to have, and you would just feel like you would totally have a huge panic attack if it happened. So you do that. So maybe, you know, maybe 1 is just you hear the word spider, okay? And number 2 is you see a picture of a small spider. And number 3 is you see a picture of a little bigger spider. And number 4 is you see a picture of a medium spider kind of moving. And number 5 is you see a picture of a big spider, but just sitting there. And then, you know, as you go on, it gets more and more until finally, you know, maybe it's a picture of a tarantula and that's on someone's face, you know, or something like that. Okay. So, by the way, just so you know, this is a kind of fun story. My grandfather grew up in northern Mexico in like the late 1800s, and he just always needed a little bit of attention. He had I think there were 12 children in the family. He didn't get enough attention. And so what he would do is he would go out in the desert and he would find insects and rattlesnakes and tarantulas and wasps and scorpions. And he would kind of, you know, like be a horse whisperer or whatever. And he would kind of just start handling them very gently and have them, we have videos of him doing this too, it's really crazy. Like have a tarantula crawl on his face, or I'm not sure if they had a scorpion, but it was like a wasp crawling on his face. And he used to go out, and we have videos of this too, in the desert and get rattlesnakes and let rattlesnakes go all inside his shirt and everything. And he just was fearless. He had systematically desensitized himself as a little kid, and that those kind of things just did not provoke the fear response that some of us city dwellers have. So really, really interesting stuff. So you want to rank these images that you're going to think of in your mind, okay? And if you need to get actual pictures so that they're very clear, go ahead, do it. Okay, you don't have to just totally do it in your mind. You can have actual photos if you want to do that too. That's a little more high impact to have photos in front of you instead of just thinking about it, but it's all good. So you rank those. And then what you do is, now remember, you've already had the course on some of these coping mechanisms like the breathing and the progressive muscle relaxation and the guided imagery, all that, okay, and the negative thinking, negative self-talk. Okay, so that you know how to do that. So what we want you to do is just take number 1, the lowest stressing thing about a spider. Maybe someone says it to you, okay? And imagine that someone says this to you, okay? And then just notice if your heartbeat goes up a little bit, whatever, and just take a nice few long exhalation breaths. And then just kind of self-validate. Do you see how this stuff builds on all of the other courses? You've got to really get a grip on some of these other courses before you can do this more advanced stuff. And so self-validation, you're like, you know what? I handled that really well. I handled that just fine. That was no problem. I got that one. I dealt with it fine. And then you move to number 2. And so number 2 is a picture of a very small spider. And you look at it in your mind, and you really examine it, notice it, and then just notice if you have any physical response at all, and do your slow exhalation breathing, guided imagery. Maybe you take your mind to a different place. Maybe you stay right there with that little spider photo, and you just breathe through it, do a little progressive muscle relaxation, and then do some self-validation. Say, hey, I handled that one. That was really great. Good job, right? Okay. And then you just do that through all the steps. Now, you don't have to do that all in one day at all. Just do one or two at a time, okay? And then the next time, start at the bottom again and work your way up. And the next time, start at the bottom again, work your way up farther, right? So that you're seeing that stuff on the bottom over and over and over, and pretty soon it's just like, oh, that's just number 1, that's no big deal. And it becomes easier and easier. And then pretty soon you're going through 1 through 10 in your mind, and you're doing a little bit of coping skills with it, and you're self-validating. And you're like, yes, I survived that fine. That was really good. Good job. And that is the systematic desensitization in your mind. That's the mental game of just doing that in your mind for whatever creates anxiety for you. Now, could it be, I'm anxious about my finances, right? So again, you're going to have a visual of, oh my gosh, there's my account on the bank. It's my web page, and oh my gosh, it says negative. And maybe that's going to be number 5, and maybe number 10 is my house gets foreclosed on, right? And so we don't want you to solve the problems. We just want you to be exposed to the trigger and learn how to de-escalate yourself. Okay. Just what can I do for myself right in the moment when there's that notice that says your house has been foreclosed? Okay, all right. It doesn't do any good to freak out about it. Just deal with it. Just notice my body reactions. Just do some coping. And hey, you know what? Actually, I'm feeling a little better. So that's just another tiny example. So have fun with this. This is a really, really fun lesson. I love this one. I love the mental games with anxiety. And you'll find that things get a little better just even in your mind, right? So have fun with that. Post on the forums what you found out, what worked for you, what worked a little better. And we'll see you soon. Thanks. Bye-bye.